Welcome, everybody, to Paladin Talk number 2. As you know, we brought out about Alfred Widowhawk and the exciting idea of speed developed, but that was like really deep into it. Today, we're going to talk to one of the earliest Paladins in our system and a leader of today's Paladin Order, General Elizabeth Hamilton, also the Right Reverend Elizabeth Hamilton. Congratulations on your growth and energy. And so there we go. And so people are watching from the outside world. Everybody, welcome. And welcome to Pagan World TV. Another part of our process, where this is an exciting process. Look it up at paganworld.co and you'll be able to view this. But let us start out with really simple. Tell us about how you got involved with Paladins. I know we could talk about everything else, but Paladins in particular.
So, you know, the earliest rumblings of the Parliament or of the Paladin Order that I recall is at the very first event, Corellian event that I attended, which was way back in 2005, 4, something like that. It was in the old Gray Elephant building, and you know, the Paladins were really Paladin-esque. Like, you know, you think of the word Paladins, you think of great big swords. Well, those were the Paladins, and I was determined, I want to be like that. I want to hold a big honking sword. So that was step one, I guess. And, you know, you and I hung out like all the time while I was there. A few times I came to visit in Danville. Not Danville, Hoopston. Sorry, my bad. Close enough. They're stone's throw away from each other anyhow. And it's all flat out there anyway. I'm an East Coaster. I'm used to mountains and hills and valleys, and all y'all are just flat. Yeah.
It is the Heartland.
It is the Heartland. Yes, it is the home of the Corellian tradition, Danville. And you know, so from there, you know, we kind of had a lull, and then I wanted to bring it back. You know, we kind of went dormant for a while, and I wanted to bring it back. I was always on you about bringing it back. I was like, we have to do this. I want the order open. And, you know, I never gave up. And one thing led to the next, and then, you know, before you knew it, I think you called me one day and you were like, Liz, are you still serious about opening the Paladin Order? And I'm like, yeah. And then you asked me about our temple that we lead together, and I was like, and you're like, okay, let's do it. And the rest is where we are now. And, you know, a bit to get here, of course, but it's been 4 years now. 4 years since then. And, you know, we've come a long way. We have a good group of people, solid people who are ready to dig into the work, whatever that might take form for them, however that might take form for them. And yeah.
So for years, the Paladins was a closed order. I mean, you had to be invited in.
Yeah.
And pretty much today, we're still kind of the same way. I mean, we're much more public, but we're not an open order. You can't just simply join.
No, you can't say, oh, I want to be a Paladin, and then we're like, okay, check the box. No, that's not how we work.
Yeah. And then
there's a process.
It is, and because of that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So COVID was a big turning point. We got started. Luckily, we got started about a year ahead of COVID because we
go ahead.
Is it because we got all sorts of visions and signals?
Yeah.
People don't realize it. In 2018, we started seeing signals that we better get this open.
Yep. The biggest turning point for me in 2018 was Greta Thunberg. And it was her impassioned plea to world leaders, and honestly, she knew that they wouldn't listen. So then she turned to the children of the world. She's like, look, you have to come with me. You have to stand with me in your houses of parliament, outside of the parliament buildings. Strike from school every Friday. And let me tell you what, she is still going. That group of kids is still going. And that really inspired me in 2018. And I gave my speech, which everybody can go on Magic TV, Magic, MAGIC.TV. And you can find it. I spoke at the lustration, which was in Danville that year, and predicted what was coming. Something big was coming. I just didn't know what it looked like. Turns out it's the plague, essentially.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and take that. But something else happened to you. At the end of 2018, in December, you were at the Parliament of World Religions.
Yes.
And you were, and of course, service is our rule.
Yep.
And I remember Patrick coming up to me going, I could use a little help. And I grabbed you and he says, would you like to help them?
Well, right. So I remember things a little bit differently. And I remember going with Reverend Kai.
Right.
And Reverend Kai and I were walking across the main big hall where everybody's getting registered and just kind of congregating in different little groups like people do. And she and I saw Patrick standing by this banner, if you will, looking very lost, as people can when their entire crew is unable to attend because of whatever. I can't really remember the reason why they couldn't be there, but they couldn't be there. And, he was the captain without a ship at that point. And we went over and we said, hi, Patrick. And he's like, oh, hi. And I'm like, you probably don't remember me. We've met before, like once. You look lost. Do you need some help? And he just poured out his whole story at that point of the last 2 or 3 days that he'd been dealing with trying to get there, and how he had meetings and this and that and appointments to keep and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, again, do you need help? And he's like, would you? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have anything going on. And that's when I remember finding you. And you were like, yeah, your schedule's clear. Like nobody else. Yeah, go help him. And so that was, I think, my biggest task so far as a part of the Paladin Order was helping Reverend Patrick McCullum. And I shadowed him. I was his fetcher of coffee. I was his secretary. I was his appointment maker. I was his sidekick, if you will, in all of his meetings and everywhere basically that he had to go for 3 whole days. And whew, what a whirlwind that was. Amazing. Changed my life.
And we're going to get more into that story.
Sure.
It's a journey to the Parliament. Another one of our shows where we're going to guide and talk to people as we head to the Parliament of August 14th and 18th. But that isn't the biggest thing that you've done. So recently we did the illustration of the Paladins Talk illustration, and also the combination of the Universal Temple of Gaia.
Right.
Most people don't realize that we're a 501. The Paladin Order is part of the 501, a very large 501c3.
Yes.
And we do charity work of
yes, we do.
various kinds. And so, can we talk about it? So, the charity work we ended up getting a name for was tech.
Yeah.
Of doing the tech stuff, of being out there. Can you talk a little bit about that? About that period of time during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we basically saw an opportunity and perfectly pivoted towards it to help the pagan world stay connected online. And why not online? Because we are literally the experts. We've been doing this for decades at this point, my whole life at this point. And, we figured out a way to have festivals online. We'd already been meeting online at this point. We had a pretty good handle on, voice platforms. We have Pagans Tonight Radio Network, for example, that we've been running for a very long time now. And which I myself was a host on for a number of years, more than 5, less than 10, somewhere in there, which was a lot of fun. So, we found Zoom and we platformed it. And the Paladins have run, I think it's been at least 2 illustrations now on this platform. And we've also hosted a number of other groups for their festivals on this platform. And yeah, it is sacred work. just because you're sitting at home on a computer does not mean that it doesn't work. I challenge anyone, tell me that this is not work. I will show you straight. Come and watch us for an hour moderating a chat room. We will show you straight.
And in that work, that is important. So, I think one of the things is that so you've been very much involved in Parliament. You're in your faith. You've been helping along with historical structures, and so where do you feel like you're going next? So, and recently, within the last year, you were made Paladin General, which means you have your own command,
right.
Master of the Order, and so that means that you can act within your own right.
Right.
That must be very interesting because
it's a very strange feeling. Not having to gain anybody's permission, but I kind of have been doing my own thing for a long time anyway, so it's a lot. It's a new shirt to put on, let's just put it that way. It's new shoes, it's a new hat, it's a new gown kind of deal. But this is what I have been training for the last 20 years. So I do have my own command. We do have things that are happening. I have my kind of like my own little niche of the Paladins, and of course if I need a larger group of Paladins, they are at my command too, when available. I was made a Paladin General on October 31st, Samhain. And again, thank you for trusting me with that. It is my greatest honor to stand side by side with you in this work, and make the vision come to pass. And to be the joint head of the Universal Temple of Gaia with you. And I was very surprised this spring, when I was acclaimed as an archpriestess. And I, of course, we let you know ahead of time when you're gonna have that kind of thing. So like I knew, but I didn't know that it was gonna be at the beginning of the weekend, and that was a big moment. Right. So where am I going next was the second half of your question. And
let's not be right there.
Oh, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So one of the things that happened with illustration, I think people was remarkable because it was unique, was we called down the Astral Castle. We actually built it in space, was beyond the space.
Yes.
And you named every one of the voters and everybody who participated, their titles.
Yes.
And you and Lord Jason, at the request of Lord Dunn, did that. Can you talk about a little bit about that process? Because I thought that was a very interesting process. I was very excited for that.
It was amazing. I have always had some kind of idea, like if that were to happen, like what it would look like. I didn't really imagine that it would happen virtually, but that's fine because anything that can be done physically can practically be done virtually these days. And one is as valid as the other at this point in our evolution as a human species. And so it was a lot of hard work. Me and Jason, Sir Jason, spent hours and hours perfecting that list. We had to go and track down every single member of the Watan Council and its galleries, and basically say, hey, we need to know like what you prefer to be called by, because we don't want to out anybody, by name if they go by a craft name still, in their pagan career. And we had to get the the list built, and that we did in a spreadsheet. Thank goodness I've been learning for the last year and a half how to use spreadsheets at work at my day job. And then we had to find people to actually record after it was all like, approved, and this is the way we wanted to say things and arrange things, and it went through many iterations, like about 5 or 6, before we were like, okay, I think this is how we want to do it. And at first it was kind of like a tug and a pull, if you will, between do we want to keep this simple, or do we want to go all out? And of course, I'm like all out, of course. And that's what ended up happening at the request of the Chancellor, of course. And I was like, yes. So everybody's name, everybody's title, everybody's titulary, all the way down, soup to nuts. Lord Don's, his took like a minute to speak out loud. Of course, in this slow and formal manner. And we made the call for volunteers to speak it, and it was done. It took 3.5 hours for 25 minutes of footage, and then there were adjustments made. And so that's how I found out that, this is happening on Thursday, not Sunday. Wait a minute, my name is supposed to be there. And then like 3 people later, or 2 people later, or whatever it was, oh my God. And then of course the waterworks started. Genuinely as they could ever be. Yeah. So
absolutely,
that's how that worked.
Yeah. And so, and people like, a lot of people really liked it, and some people are like, why'd you do that? And it's very important to where it is. And so now we're on to the future.
Yeah.
So where is it that you are looking at your personal path?
So for in the Paladin regards, our next goal is Parliament 2024 or 2023. I apologize. Get my years mixed up. Parliament of 2023. It's going to happen. It's going to start the day after my birthday, the day after my 35th birthday. Which is really cool. I'm super psyched. I'm in my 30s now and I'm loving it. Anybody who tells you that the 20s are the best years of your life are lying to you. Turn 30, then come back to me. As a funny little aside. And we're bringing people with us. We want as many pagans to come with us, and Corellians to come with us as we can get. We have 22, 23, 24 people signed up, including, of course, you and I, with more signing on every day. And of course, Reverend Lori, who was on with you for the first Paladin Talk, is spearheading that with yourself. And that's very exciting. I can't wait to go. I love Parliament. It's always been a transformational experience. And it not to like put a cloud over it, but it's work for you and I, right? It's a sacred work, not only getting the people there, but then also the week long, or 4 or 5 days long, or however long it is. Yeah, it'll be fun at the same time on top of it all.
So for it is what everybody's Parliament experience goes through different things. And by the time we got to Parliament 2018, I remember very well. We went to we ended up sharing water with Oberon Zell.
We did.
Gypsy Ravish, with Dusty, Lord Dusty, and Lady Belladonna. We got that very unusual, very private experience where we were telling some of our ideas. We got to watch so much, and you were working with Patrick at times.
Yep.
And it was Lord Don and Lady Steph and all of our Wiccan friends goes. We kind of roared with the idea of being a Wiccan global religion.
Yep.
And for me, that's the real work. For me, 30 years of work is now. This will be I was at the Parliament a little more than 30 years ago, working Xerox copies. I was in my 30s.
Wow.
Where I was making Xerox copies. I was doing office work, and then I got to be assistant stage manager.
That is so awesome.
But my story will be told at another time.
Of course.
Because we're talking about yours. So let us go ahead and step. So what is so we're working towards a parliament, but what is really the future of paladins as you see it over the
So
long run?
in the long run, our goal is pagans living among everybody else who wants to keep this planet safe and pristine and wants to keep the human species alive, and us living and thriving as an open pagan community, or communities, plural, community as a whole, but of course in everywhere we can get. And it's a long road. This is definitely the marathon of a lifetime. This is not a race. I'm going to be doing this until I'm 100. And it's going to be a lot of preparations, and it's going to be a lot of foresight and a lot of instinct in a lot of ways, and it's also going to be a lot of sitting on things and figuring things out, and finding people who know how to bring about the world in which we want to live sustainably, peacefully, prayerfully, respectfully of Gaia. We are our future ancestors. And I believe that extremely strongly. Even though I will never have children of this body, I am my future self's ancestor already. And, part of the work that we have to do now is building that future for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations, as the First Nations people say. So
let me offer this last thing. We talked about it being a Corellian tradition, but at the Parliament of 2018, on the first day, kind of the same day, I always found it very interesting when the rebellion began and some of the places. We too were making a declaration. People, what do you mean by that? Well, if you ever look into the history, like one of the big groups formed on that day. We'll talk about that another time. I don't want to get caught in that sort of thing. And this sort of idea of being stronger. So that was October 31st, 2018 was really very interesting. But from that, one of the things that emerged for us is the idea that we're not just Corellian, but we serve a larger group of people.
Yeah.
The Voses.
The Voses, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Voses, we have a number of them. I believe it's 9 or 10 right now. Let me look it up really quick. And basically these are people who the Paladins hold in high regard. Our elders, if you will. And when they need us, they contact you or me or whoever else they know in the Paladin Order and say, hey, we have a need. And we say, okay, how can we answer this need? What is it? Tell us about it. Where do you need us? When do you need us? How do you need us? And we go.
And to the best of our ability.
To the best of our ability, we go. And in a nutshell, that is who the Voses are to us. Among them are, of course, Lord Dawn, Lady Stephanie, Lady Belladonna Laveau, Reverend Patrick McCullum, and a number of others who are escaping my mind at the moment.
There's only 7 of them.
Oh, okay. Well, 7 then. Yeah.
Roper Ronzel.
Yep.
Lady Selena Fox. And Lady Laura James, Lady Laura Isles of Isis, the Temple of Isis.
Yes, the Fellowship of Isis. Yes, exactly.
And they're all
very nice lady.
And they're the ones who basically accepted who said they needed the office. So those are the 7 that really worth the information right now, because they've been touched by their gods and they need help. Everybody needs a little bit of resources. So if people want to help the Paladins, what's the best way they can do that if they wanted to join the Paladins?
So the best way to help the Paladins is to come and tell us what you're good at, and tell us what you want to improve upon, and tell us what you like to do. And you can do this through our application process, which is basically begins by contacting me or you or Sir Jason. And we will give you our form to fill out. You fill out the form. It's like 10 questions, 11 questions, something like that. You know, it's like name, phone number, email address, you know, mailing address, so that if we need to go and, you know, something happens to you, we know where you are to come and help you, because we do that. And then we sit down and we talk to you and we find out if you're a good fit. And if you're a good fit, doors are open. Come on in. Hope you're ready to work. And you know, outside of that, we are always accepting donations. And as you were saying before, I do believe we can accept tax deductible donations as part of the 501. And we are always accepting donations. Please email me or Ed here, and we will be glad to get that arranged.
And if you want to make the donations, orderofpaladins.org is got some of our links. We're kind of spread out all over the platforms because we're not trying to make it so easy to find us.
Right.
You have to work at it a little bit. We're like we're like kind of the older world, but
Right.
certainly we're findable.
Yeah.
This is broadcasting on the Order of Paladins Facebook page right now. It's part of the Pagan TV.
Excellent.
And so with that, I think we covered everything for this time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to shout out about? Anything else you want to talk about?
You know, I would love to come back on and talk about ancestor work, ancestor veneration, the Corellian tradition as a whole, my own proto temple. Noah Ides Iani. Hello to all of my Ides members. I love you all. Thank you so much for being with me on the 1.5-year wild ride that we've been having. It is the most awesome thing that I have ever done, you know, under my own auspices, if you will, like aside from everything else. You know, that was kind of like my own little side project, and that's in the works and building and all of that kind of thing. And you know, of course, we're on to Parliament now. That this is going to be a sprint, a series of sprints in this marathon race here. And of course, you guys can find me on Facebook, and also on Discord. But I don't just give my Discord out loud, so you'll have to find me on Facebook for that. Other than that, if you want to email me, you're honestly better off just getting me on Facebook. Really, I don't really check my email a whole lot unless I know there's a piece of mail in there that I need to be looking for. So other than that, I think we've had a little successful chat here today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you. And so this has been Paladin Talk number 2. We'll bring back more. We're going to be talking to the Order, and we've got some really exciting things happening on to Parliament. Blessed be, folks. And just, you want to give a last minute? I'll give you a last word, a little blessing.
Blessed be everybody. May every road be open unto you, every heart a friend. I love you all. Good night.